Welcome to another Quantum Conversation, brought to you by AcousticHealth.com. I'm Loren Gailey, and I invite you to sit back as we enter the quantum realm, that space of the greater part of you. It is your connection to infinite possibilities, infinite potential, and infinite mastery. And our quantum conversation today takes us back into the sacred heart, where we can use this very sacred space as our portal to other worlds. And it's how we communicate with other realms. We're talking about how we can learn to channel messages from our guides, angels, and beings on the illumined realms, and also how we can protect ourselves from negative forces, fine-tune our discernment so we can identify the most pure and loving beings. My next guest is here to share his personal experience with his own channeling process, remote viewing, and psychic abilities with positive beings, ETs, even malevolent ETs, and negative beings. Saryon is here, and he's going to share how he handled these experiences and how you can fortify yourself to be only in contact with the most loving energy. He also says that there's a unifying energy coming onto our planet. We can feel it when we look at the collective, even though it seems very Polaris-like. And he's going to share with us how we can connect to this unifying energy and truly use it to be a new Earth leader. Saryon, welcome to Quantum Conversations.
Thank you. Very excited to be here.
Yes, we are very excited to be here, and it's very timely that you're joining us today. We were talking about how there's today's cosmic disclosure talks about channeling and some negative forces. Well, it turns out you, in your experience, have had quite a lot of experiences that come through meditation. So we're going to ask you all about that. You even have a course that describes the dark hearts that are out there that exist in the astral realm. First, let's start with your experience of how you began to channel. This came through meditation and your awakening process.
Well, it's interesting because I had a real epiphany at the age of 17 that channeling was going to be a big part of my life. I had known since I was a kid that I wanted to be a writer, but it was when I discovered channeling that I realized what kind of a writer I wanted to be. But at that time, I had no idea that I was going to be channeling ascended masters and angels and people's guardian angels and things like that in personal sessions with people. I just didn't see that coming. It was in about 2005 that the ascended masters came to me, and they presenced themselves to me in such a way that I really got that this was a doorway that was opening to a whole other level of training. And it's actually really interesting and synchronistic that just yesterday I got an email from the very first woman that I ever did a channel reading for, and it's just a beautiful synchronicity because she heard that I was going to be on your show, and she emails me, and I haven't heard from her in like 10 years, and she was like, hey, is this the same person that I had that session for all those years ago? And
wow,
and the way it all started was with this one person. I was told that you're going to be doing readings now, and people started coming to me requesting them, including this person. And at first I had this resistance to it, but then I got this guidance that said, no, you can do this. And I didn't take any classes on, how to channel for people or how to give readings. I had not had any kind of training like that before. I was just kind of thrown into the water and expected to swim. But the Ascended Masters totally caught me and were there for me. And they just said, sit down, breathe, relax, and we'll do the rest. And sure enough, it was like being bathed in a shower of radiance coming from each Ascended Master that came through. And with each session that I did, it was like my channel was getting an attunement. So I really learned all of this through what you might call on-the-job training. I didn't know so much going into it. I just started doing it, and had to kind of jump and trust that I was going to be caught each time. So that's kind of how it started. But the lessons of discernment really started long before that, with some of the contact experiences that I had with ETs, with very advanced extraterrestrial beings, because back then I did not have discernment. I didn't know what I was dealing with. I didn't know what else was out there. And there's a kind of an experience that was set up actually between myself and the Master Jesus, because I had some very vivid conversations with Jesus about how to learn lessons of discernment and how to gain knowledge so that I could share it with people. And we agreed that the best way to give me that discernment was to give me some real experiences of both the light and the dark. So very shortly after that, I had these contact experiences with the Pleiadians and the Ashtar Command and these some of these really advanced ETs that are observing our awakening. And at the same time, there were these different interfering astral entities and lying ETs that were trying to sort of hijack my channel and insert their own messages and ideas about where things should go on the planet. And for a little while, it was like total chaos inside of my channel for a few days until I got grounded and Jesus sort of reset my channel and said, okay, now you see what you're dealing with. Now you see what's out there. And I was able to take those lessons of discernment and realize that, we're kind of dealing with a nightmare of psychic competition out there, at least within a certain vibratory level of reality. And we do have to watch out for that. We do have to be discerning. We have to use protection and invoke protection from the angelic realms. Fortunately, when you're doing that, the angels are right there by your side and are assisting you. But I think one of the things that we talked about earlier was how important it is to have pure motives. When your motives are pure, you're going to attract the highest light. But if your motives are a frequency match for some of the astral energies that are out there, then that's when you might end up attracting something that can just lead you into a lot of illusion.
Yes, very interesting, because we need to be very aware then of the energies of anger and jealousy, or I even think competition in a negative way. So using protection from the angelic realms will really help with this. What do you use when you're protecting? I know there's different sayings or mantras that assist, but what do you do to keep that clear channel?
Well, because having pure motives is so important, I often will say some affirmations around that I surrender all desire for profit or gain. I surrender all desire for attention. I surrender all desire for being right. I surrender all desire for looking good. All of those kinds of things that are egoic in nature. I really have a strong intent to turn any kind of egoic agendas over to the masters, and following that, I would say, which I was actually saying even before coming on the show here, I only surrender to the highest love and light.
Mm-hmm. Yes, okay. All right, so that ego, yes, it's very important, and so we have to purify ourselves too when we begin to channel.
Yeah, in fact, that's actually more important than developing psychic ability. A lot of people think that I need to take psychic classes, I need to practice some types of psychic exercises all the time, or it really all comes down to, how much I can open my psychic senses through meditation. But actually, if you are focused on self-purification, then, and you're really vigilant and you're just not ever going to give up on doing your part to become free from attachments and hidden agendas and things like that, if you're really, really working on yourself in that way, then you're not only going to be attracting the support of the angels and the masters, but you're also going to gain their trust. It's more important to be psychologically clear and to not have any distortions in your consciousness than it is to have strong psychic abilities, because we all have abilities, and the abilities actually will open naturally when you are aligned with the energy with aligned intent. So if your intentions are pure, if you have an aligned intent to be of service, then that's going to be a frequency match with the realm of the angels and the masters and the high-level guides.
Beautiful. Okay. So you just mentioned no distortions in your consciousness. It's pretty interesting because it's that filter that we have, and so those distortions will keep you from the vibration of those pure intentions. Can you tell us a little bit more? How do you define distortions? Is that purely the ego?
Yeah, well, I think that probably the simplest way, since we only have an hour here to go into this, is to say that when we're talking about distortions, a lot of what we're talking about is duality. We're looking at our own inner dualities, our own fear-based beliefs, fears that we have. For example, if you have a lot of fear about the future, a lot of fear about what's happening in the world, and you don't have a lot of trust in the divine plan, well, there are certain types of entities and beings that want to capitalize on the sense of urgency that some people have to try to take control of what's happening. There are different beings that can see those kinds of agendas of control, of wanting to, influence people from a way of controlling rather than unifying and holding a field of unity consciousness. So that's what we're really talking about. I mean, I think it's pretty easy to imagine the difference between people when they're in a control drama place because they're seeking attention or control or influence coming from a place of feeling separate from power, and somebody who is holding acceptance and unity consciousness and oneness and not making anyone wrong. That's a really good exercise for coming out of duality, is to not make anyone wrong for where they are at in their consciousness, to be okay with all of it. It's okay that some people are in a form of consciousness where they are abusing others. It's okay that some people are stuck in victimhood. It's okay that some people are stuck in poverty consciousness, because we're all at different levels of consciousness. We're all working through different lessons. You don't even have to think of it in terms of levels, because even that becomes a kind of a hierarchical way of thinking about human beings. Different people are working through different sets of lessons. You could have somebody that is working through issues of abuse, and there's a lot of aggression that's coming out inside of them, but they could also have tremendous mastery in other areas of life. And so you wouldn't want to look at somebody that's being aggressive and think, oh, this person is lower than me because I'm not aggressive. That kind of duality and prejudice and projection is what we're talking about when we talk about distortions, when we talk about using judgment to imagine hierarchy. I'm more spiritually evolved because I'm not like that. But from a perspective of that, there's nothing wrong with any of the lessons that people are working through and what they need and what they have karmically attracted to themselves for those experiences. Then you get more into this space of that it's all okay, it's all happening in perfection, there's no reason to fear any of it, and I am humbly here as a divine witness and emissary of the divine to really make the most of this and receive the greatest wisdom and healing from this experience so that I can refine myself and become the best that I can be. So if all we do is focus on self-refinement and becoming the absolute best version of ourselves that we can be, then that is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to the world. That's actually what my master teaches. I always mention him usually when I go on these calls because I've had the benefit that a lot of other people have not had of training with a living master, somebody who is actually enlightened in the physical. I've worked with ascended masters from the higher realms my whole life, but having a living master in your field helps to hold you to an even higher level of accountability. So I've worked very closely with Louis Dupree, also known as Bhagavan Sri Pranananda. And some of the things that I'm sharing with you are really directly things that he has taught me to help refine me as a channel, including that purifying ourselves and becoming the best version of ourselves is the greatest gift that we can give to the world, because you're literally healing the world from within yourself. And that's what I've experienced, and that's what I teach and demonstrate from personal experience, because I have seen how when I remove any charge or duality that I have with the world, it also releases me from entanglements with other people holding those kinds of frequencies. It's really amazing. I've experienced feeling a charge with various people that may potentially be kind of stuck in judgment or fear, negativity, or they are holding energies with me in that way. And when I do my part to let go of attachment to where everyone is at, and I do the forgiveness work and I do the healing work and I move into total loving acceptance, then what I find is that there's an opening that takes place in the channel where you become connected to the higher selves of all beings. It's like your tube of light just straightens right up, and you're able to have dialogues of pure unconditional love with even people who on the physical plane have been very negative towards you. And yet you can chat with their higher selves and go, oh, wow, look at what we were learning. This is really amazing that we came together on the physical plane to learn these powerful lessons with each other. I share this because I know there's a lot of people out there that are not knowing how to deal with the duality they experience with some of the people in their lives. I always talk to people about how easy it is to get attached to things being resolved in a mutual way where everyone sees eye to eye and everyone understands each other, because we often do not allow room for other people to have their own perspectives, and we want everything to be mutual, but sometimes you have to just go straight to source and resolve everything with source and let go of trying to get other people to see things your way, because some people think that that's necessary. Like, if we're going to have resolution with each other, then you would see things through my eyes, I would see things through your eyes, but that doesn't necessarily always want to happen in the timing that we would want it to happen for. So the detachment, I would say, is another really, really big key. If you want to learn how to channel, you want to learn how to access the higher dimensions, then we have to become very, very detached, very free from any kind of attachment to outcomes, attachment to whether or not people see things our way. We let go of attachment to even what kinds of answers we get from our guides. I see a lot of people that they get stuck in this place of, gosh, I'm asking the question, but I'm not getting the answer. They're just not talking to me. And so they think either I'm not hearing them or I am not being given attention and they're not listening to me. And actually, we can sometimes end up going to our guides with really strong attachments as to what we think the conversation should be about and what answers we are wanting or expecting to hear from them. And what they may have for us is something entirely different. And they're like kind of waiting for us to actually take the blinders off and to stop interrogating them and to actually just wait and see what they want to say, which could be something completely different than what we are asking for.
Oh, you just, explained it so well. And I know there's people who have, they can look at their lives and see where they did have an attachment to the outcome. Even personally, for years, I asked the angels to show me how I could best live my purpose. And I saw 3 different versions that just popped up as ideas and then up on Google searches. It was amazing. But I saw it as competition instead of the work that I should be doing. And so, well, here we are now, long story short, and I finally listened to that message, but it was very interesting. Yes, I had no idea that it would come about in this way. So yes, okay, so no detachment, no, or to be detached, no attachment. Okay, we're going to give you some time and space today to take us into a unifying, how to work with these unifying energies, because in our world out there, we do see a lot of polarizing energies, but it's unifying because everyone's talking about the same thing. So I just love that you talked about tapping into the higher selves, doing your forgiveness and your loving and acceptance work, and really being the leaders. And so those who are listening to this are really ready to be those new leaders as well. So can you share with us how you would recommend people begin channeling? I know that you've got a course on that, but what are, after these steps of detachment, do we do it every day? Do we keep a journal? Do we meditate? What are the first few steps?
Well, if we're talking about actually channeling in a trance, whether it's a deep trance or a conscious trance, then breathing is one of the most important keys. I would say that really all of the channeling that I have done for people is always happening through me practicing, at least in the very beginning, a form of conscious breathing where I'm just breathing in light, and I'm offering to really share my experience of breathing with my guides. I don't really look at the physical body as something that I own anymore in the way that I used to. I am the steward of the body. I'm the caretaker of a resource that was meant to be utilized by many different higher beings that want to impart knowledge and light and healing through this body. So I would say that there's a kind of a frame of mind that I have around what the body is, and the fact that it was designed to be a shared experience, at least at certain points, with various higher beings. When you have that frame of mind, that is part of how you are relating to the beings that are coming to you, because they are coming to experience your body as a gateway into this world. And when you're receiving that through the love vibration, you're experiencing part of the fulfillment of the very purpose of the body itself. I experience channeling as an experience of learning every time. There's always a reciprocal exchange that I am receiving. I'm gaining tools. I'm gaining insights. I'm receiving spiritual current through my body. I'm gaining knowledge. Sometimes I have experiences of the memories of other beings that become a part of me, so that my own memory awareness is expanding through these experiences. So I would say that, breathing is a really important part of it, and the intent to channel, and then also the intent to clear your mind. When you are doing those three things and practicing as much detachment as possible, then you're going to be in the right frame of mind to begin. It's always going to be about becoming a blank slate. So when you're a blank slate, you are basically acting as if you are a pool of water, of crystal clear water, and you are allowing the guides to project their electrical current into the water that you are, to crystallize that water, to create messages within the water, to cluster the water into intelligent structures that hold frequency. And I think that's actually something that happens when we channel that, I don't have any scientific proof of this, but I really can feel that there's something happening with the water in my body. It is becoming clustered in certain ways that hold frequency. I sometimes even find it easier to channel when I am in water, and that's an interesting thing that people can do, whether they want to try it in a bath or a hot tub,
Ah,
or sometimes I'll just take a shower, and I find that coming out of the shower, just having that contact with the water puts me in a more sacred space. So that's something that I can recommend to people. I actually love to go to these hot springs here in Utah, and I sometimes will sit and channel the masters while I'm in the hot springs, and I can really feel their energies coming into the entire body of water and charging it energetically. So it's kind of fun to just be in the conduit role and to hold that frequency with the living water.
wow. Okay. So that is really fascinating what you said there. And isn't it interesting, this connection with the water?
Hmm.
We have learned that water is multidimensional. It's found on all realms of existence.
Oh, yeah. Hmm.
Masaru Emoto, his fascinating work with water, he also said in an interview I did with him that water is God. That is his nutshell take on water. And isn't it fascinating that you make your mind like a pool of crystal clear water, because that's where you feel the energy coming in. And we've
Yeah.
also learned that on altars, water plays a very important role in the Buddhist altars and all types of altars across the planet. We see these waters, and that is how spirit communicates as well. So I just find that connection fascinating that you've mentioned it. So let's go deeper then into your experience. When you are in this place, um, are you just noticing what you notice as far as once you're able to calm this mind down and then you start feeling energies? How do you suggest that we learn to feel these energies?
Well, I'd like to perhaps give people a little experience of it for a
Perfect.
few minutes. So
Yes.
what I'm going to suggest here, I want to kind of set this up because whether you are intending to learn how to channel or not, there's something that's happening in the world multidimensionally. There are energies coming into the world, and the world itself is being embraced by a divine embrace. This is something that I've been teaching about and talking about and relating my personal experience of for many years now. I talk a lot about the divine embrace. In fact, almost every time I'm in front of a group, I'll talk about this because I started learning how to experience just allowing myself to be embraced by the divine. And I do that whether I'm channeling, I do that if I'm doing healing work on myself, I do that if I'm feeling stressed and I really need some support from the divine. It's all about making yourself available. There's actually a vision that I was shown many years ago, and it's one of a small number of visions that came from such a high level that it felt to me like a communication or a teaching that was coming from what I would call the Holy Spirit. And the way I would describe what that is, just to give a little more description, is that whenever the divine creates anything, for example, like the container for a universe in the form of a circle, or any type of geometric pattern, that pattern becomes filled with spirit. There is a spirit presence that fills that pattern, that emanates from a voidal place and fills that geometric pattern. And so the geometric pattern that contains the universe is filled with a spirit that resonates with wholeness and that is a living conscious presence that identifies with itself as the sum total of the spirit presence of that universe as an omniscient presence that is everywhere. The unity of the circle of all beings is present in the energy of that all-encompassing spirit. So that Holy Spirit gave me a vision once, and I was shown that in this awakening that we're experiencing in the world, that unifying spirit is actually embracing every single person in the world. And there is an embrace that is taking place. I saw it like seeing a sort of a layer in the outer aura that most people are not aware of, because it's kind of creeping in. Most people are not even ready to receive the fullness of what that embrace is and where it's going to take us. But it is going to take us into an experience of oneness with humanity and oneness with the earth. Now, it still may take some decades before we get there, before we cross certain thresholds as a collective. I'm not trying to make any predictions as to when we're going to get there, but I can see it coming, and I've seen what humanity looks like in visions after that event. And I see this beautiful energy that is coming closer and closer to each person as a divine embrace. And it's like being embraced by the most loving mother energy, the most loving, nurturing energy you can possibly imagine. Sometimes we may feel it as the embrace of our guardian angel or our angelic guides, even though it's much more than that. But even when we're working with ascended masters, very often the way I experience with their energy when I'm channeling them is that it feels like an embrace. It feels like they're giving you an energetic hug. So let's just do a little bit of a meditation for a few minutes here. And this is about allowing the divine embrace. And I'd like to invite all of you listening to just relax, and you may want to sit with your spine straight. That's always good, though it's not entirely necessary. I usually will sit with my spine straight and invoke this divine embrace and receive it. And sometimes I'll just lay back after I've got the connection and allow the energies to just sort of run over me. But either way, you can just relax and take a few deep breaths. You want to just breathe in as if you are breathing in light and peace, breathing in for about 4 to 6 counts, pausing for just a moment, and then breathing out for about 4 to 6 counts, and just creating a sort of a rhythmic circular breath. There's actually a golden white light that is being sent down from the angelic realms. You can imagine that it is being poured forth like a waterfall that is being poured into your crown chakra, and it's spilling into all of your chakras and also spilling over you, enveloping you, so that you are inside of this waterfall of golden white liquid light. You can actually breathe this in. And as you take a few deep breaths to breathe in this liquid light and prana that is now completely filling the room that you are in, or filling the space around you, you can imagine that there is an energy of excitement coming from the angelic realms as they can see that you are choosing to receive this energy. And they're saying hello. And you are beginning to feel the presence of a beautiful group of angelic beings. These particular angelic beings that are coming forth are known as the angels of peace. The angels of peace are the angels that guide and overlight all of the peace projects in the world. They are the angels that are helping to strengthen the peace grid, to support the arrival of peace consciousness. And they are inviting you to receive a direct blessing of this new peace consciousness right into your crown chakra and your third eye. So just imagine for a moment that angels are sending forth these blessings like whispering in your ears, whispering the energy of peace into your auric field. And they are speaking of you personally as an emissary of this new peace consciousness. So as you feel that peace consciousness and peace vibration coming into your mind, there is a very specific form of relaxation that wants to occur in your sacral chakra, where the mind is feeling at peace and feeling that it can relax all of the old forms of protection. It can release the constraint that allows the emotional body to expand and open up, allows your sensitivity to expand. So allow this peace consciousness to flow right down into the sacral chakra. The mind is surrendered and the sacral chakra is opening. There's a beautiful energy that is coming from inside the earth. As Mother Earth is recognizing this as an opportunity to support the opening of your sacral chakra through a beautiful sacred spiral of energy that is coming up from the inner earth. There are many advanced beings that are sourcing and energizing this spiral from inside the earth that supports the opening of our sacral chakras. It supports a balancing of the mind and the sacral specifically. So just breathe for a few moments and receive how you are now being embraced from above and below. And as you feel your emotional body unfurling and relaxing, your heart is now being sourced to receive its support, its blessing, and its divine gift. For each of you that are listening to this are multidimensional channels. It's not that you need to become this or figure out how to attain this. This is what you already are. This is what a human being is. We are multidimensional channels of love and light. And we, ascended masters and the angelic emissaries of peace, are here to bless you and to consecrate a sacred marriage that is taking place inside of your hearts with the beloved of your own soul, the God source that overlights you, guides you, and protects you. Where there is a deeper union that is seeking to take place. Union between creator and creation that transcends and goes beyond any relationships that you may form, various masters and angels, Christed ETs, higher beings that you may be working with as a channel. Your sacred marriage to the earth, your sacred marriage to your divine source are an experience that goes beyond and yet includes all of your other divine counterparts and spiritual colleagues in the higher realms. And so this is what they are all coming together to celebrate. They are coming together to celebrate the change that is taking place, that is restoring the frequency of love upon the earth, blessing your heart and your channel to receive, as you were destined to receive, the source codes that open all of the chakras, allow you to receive communication through the frequency of oneness. There is also a beautiful energy that is entering into this space with us that is coming from our beloved Yeshua, Master Jesus, and Mary Magdalene, as they are also coming to support the balancing the masculine and feminine within. For the union energy that they embodied was a divine gift that we can simply receive into our hearts and into our channels to help balance the masculine and feminine within, which is one of the most important pieces that we need to integrate with to open ourselves as channels. Just breathe for a moment and receive that energy of love and divine union into your field. You are awakening into what has been described by the masters as the Christ brain. It's not just the mind of the Christ. It is a very unique and powerful brain field that was created through Master Jesus and through many other masters who also hold this frequency with us. It is the frequency of the new human being, and it is signified by the presence of a halo, a circle that encircles your brain and holds your brain field in balance with the sacred gift. So we ask you to receive an attunement to that halo that connects you and links you with the Christ brain and with the transmissions and teachings of pure unconditional love that are coming into the world through this frequency. So just take a moment to give thanks for all of this and to receive that a divine embrace is an ongoing experience. It is available to you anytime you request it. All you need to do is allow it. It is an ongoing process. It is not that masters and the angels need to be reminded, because even when you are feeling stuck, even when you are feeling out of sorts, this process called the divine embrace is still happening. It is happening even when you make mistakes, when you have difficulty surrendering, when you feel afraid or sick or upset for any reason. You have not gotten off track, because the divine embrace is still happening. And everything is happening inside of that and a part of it. So, in that sense, we can welcome any and all experiences that we have as part of a divine orchestration. It's part of a process of moving into greater mastery. And with that, we can accept all that has occurred, allowing this acceptance to stretch all the way back into every corridor of our memory, to all of our incarnations, and to all of our ancestors. Now, as much as I want to keep things brief, I cannot help but recognize the presence of the violet flame coming in. So we must be on a roll here. I want to invite everyone to receive their direct relationship with the violet flame as a companion that is part of their source connection. And even if you've been working with the violet flame for a long time already, there's an invitation that is present as this field is merging with you. The violet fire is deepening its connection with you. And the invitation is that there are yet even more mysteries and teachings about the violet flame, and that will come through the violet flame, and that it is personal doorway into part of the training and expansion that wants to take place inside of you. Beloved Saint Germain is here, and he would just like to greet each of you as he is recognizing that all of you listening to this represent those who have asked for more training and more support with your embodiments, more support to discover and awaken your soul's gifts. And he is saying, my heart is with you. In this moment, there is a sacred portal that is opening between your heart and mine. It is a portal that shall not close, and it signifies that I am with you, and that all that I have and all that I am is available to you. So receive this into your heart and know that I am receiving you into my heart, into this divine embrace. It is a great joy for me to be with you. So thank you, Saint Germain. Just a brief message for now, as there are some more things that we have to discuss in this session. So just want to say thanks to all the masters and angels, as that was an unexpected surprise. I didn't even know we were going to go there.
Oh, well, what beautiful experience of that energy, that divine embrace. I can see the halos around everyone listening. It is so comforting. And it just feels like home. This is very familiar. It is not new. We just have to receive it in our hearts and allow it. Wow, okay. I loved the violet flame coming in, and I totally felt that shift with Saint Germain and his message. And oh my goodness, Yeshua, Jesus, Mary Magdalene, those two balancing the masculine and feminine within us. Thank you so much for that. We can truly feel the restoring of love on earth, and it really does help us transcend that which we see outside of us. So we can feel that peace grid. We are committed to being emissaries of peace consciousness. Well, Saryon, we will have you back for another conversation, because the next time we speak, we're going to talk more about, the beings that you've worked with and all of that. I want to ask you really quickly, what does the world look like after this divine embrace is really anchored in?
Well, interestingly, I will say first that there's a really great distortion that I so often hear from people, this fear-based idea that in order for humanity to survive, that billions of people are going to have to die, or there's going to have to be something that reduces the human population so that the earth can survive, because it won't survive if the population keeps increasing. And there are certainly very real challenges that we are facing with an increasing population. But I will say that, first of all, in this movement into this divine embrace and beyond, I see that this is the time that so many souls have chosen to come into the world to experience this energy arriving in the world and even to help anchor it. And so I don't see that there's going to be any great cataclysm that significantly reduces the population. I see that we are going to evolve our relationship to the earth and each other, maybe in part because of the challenges of having this many people in the world and the burden that places upon the earth. It's going to bring about an evolution, and that evolution is going to be supported by this divine embrace. And I will also say that we are moving into a time where we are going to experience not only the way in which that divine embrace is a personal experience and a collective experience for humanity, but it is also that our divine creative source is also embracing the earth and very specifically embracing the earth and embracing the consciousness and the presence of all of the animals as well. And when we awaken more collectively to feel the way in which Source is embracing and directly caring for the planet, we will awaken into that, and it will shift our relationship to the planet so that it becomes the core frequency and heart and center of our collective identity. And we will no longer live as if separate from the earth. So that's what I see on the other side of that, is that we will no longer be living as if separate from the earth. We will step into and be really challenged to step into our true stewardship roles, and we will receive direct revelation and divine communication from our source that really reminds us of what those stewardship roles are, what it means to be stewards of the earth, so that we can experience that as the restoration of our original divine purpose and blueprint upon the earth. So that excites me a great deal, because the divine energy is coming into the world not just for us, but it's also coming here for the animals, for the plants, for the earth itself. And the more we get on board with that and recognize that and allow ourselves to feel that, the more we can receive that revelation of our stewardship roles, because it is a revelation. It is basically a readjustment of the frequency of our DNA, so that we begin to experience the direct living connection that our multidimensional DNA has and was intended to have with the earth itself as an extension of that.
Mm. Yes, yes, it is very exciting. And that is why we are truly beginning to anchor this into our sacred heart, living from the sacred heart. That is one of the main roles for us, to be into this deep connection and that frequency resonance with these divine communications that are coming to us. Saryon, thank you so much. You have a special offer. We've got about 2 minutes left here. Share with us your course on how folks can truly get into this heightened channeling.
Yes, well, the most recent course that I co-created with the Masters and Angels is called Breakthroughs in Channeling. And it's actually one of the courses that I was the most excited about creating, because I've wanted to do this for a long time. It's been a passion of mine to teach people how to channel, to share with them this wisdom, and to give them real techniques they can work with and lead them through exercises. And the guides finally came to me and said, you're going to teach a Breakthroughs in Channeling course. So I was just over the moon, excited about this. And as it started coming through, it was really such a beautiful surprise, the openings that people were experiencing with this. I got so much great feedback and testimonials of people saying that this was like the best channeling course that they had ever taken. It was more informative and more grounded, and made the whole subject more approachable than anything that they had ever experienced. So I'm really, really excited to present this to people and to offer this. I recorded it last year in 2 parts. It's now a set of 7 classes. These are MP3s. And then there are a number of coaching calls that I recorded where I answer people's questions live, which is also part of the package. And I was also channeling for groups at that time at different locations, and I took some of those recordings because they were highly relevant to the course. It felt like it was more of the course material coming in, and I added those on as bonuses. And then what you were talking about earlier is how much people need to know about protection and discernment, and that kind of inspired another bonus that we're adding onto this, which is the very first class from my Defense Against the Dark Arts series. We're not giving the whole series to you through this package, but just the first class, because in the first class, we create your protection grid. And the grid that I created when I originally did this, I've been using for years. I invoke it in every meditation, and I've even added more to it, but I'm still working with the same grid. And I lead you through a meditation in that class so that you can create your protection grid. And I go into protection as well in the Breakthroughs in Channeling course, but this is just an added little bonus that we're adding. And I also will be inviting the people who choose this package to a couple of live calls as well, because I really want to give people an opportunity to come in and participate in something live. I try to do that every time I have the opportunity to do that. So I'll be sending out those invitations sometime in February and then another one in March for people to come to a live call, and they can potentially ask questions as well. You'll also be included in our Facebook group, where I'm going to be doing some Facebook Live Q&A. There's actually more live stuff that I didn't even talk about when I first put together this package, because it's all kind of coming together very spontaneously, but I'm very excited to offer these things. If you have ever wanted to learn how to channel, this is the course for you. I guarantee you're going to experience some kind of an opening for you. I don't know what it'll be, but if you want to make a real breakthrough in channeling, then this course is designed for exactly that.
Well, okay, you have us all raring to go here. Just feeling the energies and the message that you brought through was so very relaxing that in itself is really significant and will be the way that this energy is anchored on the planet. And I know so many of us would really like to reach into those higher realms and bring forth these divine communications. Saryon, thank you for that. That is available on the special offer button on this webpage. And as we go, we have about one more minute. And isn't it interesting, just the whole story about the dimensions and all of that? And so as we say goodbye, your number one rule for people staying true to their path and working on their discernment. What's an easy connection for their discernment?
Oh gosh, the best way is to just hold everything up to the light and keep invoking light into your learning process. Don't always try to figure it out on your own. Whatever is going on in your life, take it to the I Am Presence, take it to the divine, take it to God, take it to the angels, and ask for an angel's eye view. Don't assume that you know so much. That's what I would say.
Yes, that goes back to feeling our way to source. Yes. Saryon, thank you so much for being here on Quantum Conversations.
You're very welcome.
Thank you, too, for listening and sharing in this space today. We leave you now with music from the universe, literally sacred geometry of music, as musical notes were assigned to mathematical equations. The result is this beautiful music, available at acoustichealth.com.